Bada bada boom yo, Donny Boy in the house. Today we're doing something different. This is a passion project of mine. Welcome to Hunter x Hunter's 7 Deadly Sins as characters. Hunter x Hunter is my favorite anime, a well thought out franchise with complex characters. The show is full of people with flaws that become their undoing, and strengths that lead them to be triumphant in the face of adversity. There's a wide variety of weaknesses which embody different paths to their undoing or their cruelty, and today, we'll be going over these weaknesses. Keep in mind that not every sin has a single contender. Many characters qualify for some sins, which causes a lot of overlap. There are also sins that don't really have a good representative that I will take unique approaches to. Also, I'm mostly going to focus on the anime, because I haven't read the manga yet, so don't expect any manga characters. Although I will refer to the manga here and there. Also, this is your one and only spoiler warning. Wrath. Strong, vengeful anger or indignation. Wrathful people are motivated by revenge. Something or someone in their past harmed them greatly or took something away from them. This reshapes a person's entire life, their whole identity, filling them with rage that never goes away. I'm sure by now, you've thought of who embodies every trait I mentioned. Kurapika is the embodiment of wrath. From the very beginning, we learn that Kurapika's motive to become a hunter is to kill the criminal organization that killed his family, the Phantom Troop. This fixation on revenge dictates what he does. The sight of spiders triggers rage so intense it renders him unable to function for dozens of minutes. When he develops his chain-based Nen ability, it's specifically designed to take out the Phantom Troop, with the strongest chain only being able to work on them. Despite Kurapika's criticism on Leorio not becoming a proper hunter, Kurapika did not put any thought into how his ability could save lives or help civilians. It's only designed to take down specific people he hates. This is hammered home when he thought all of the Phantom Troop members had died. A person whose goals aren't motivated by wrath would be happy that people dangerous to the innocent are now gone. Kurapika, on the other hand, was devastated that he wasn't the one to eliminate them, that he didn't get revenge on them himself, even when their existence threatens others. Now, I'm not saying Kurapika is a bad person. He's kind, compassionate, supportive, and even embarrassed and apologetic when he recognizes bad behavior that he exhibited.
I'm embarrassed at my behavior. Pardon my rudeness.
Kurapika is an amazing human being, but even the kindest hearts get lost and ripped apart in the darkness of wrath. Gluttony, habitual greed or excess in eating, a stomach or high that is never satisfied. This was a hard one because I wanted to pick something food and drug based rather than like something not that would, you know, it would overlap with like greed and lust. You might be pointing at Buhara due to his massive diet, being able to eat many whole roasted pigs. However, Buhara's hunger is satisfiable, and he's not entirely picky about what he eats. He's able to enjoy meals that aren't cooked properly, and his appetite clearly doesn't hold him back or consume him. So with that in mind, if not Buhara, who fits gluttony? A better pick for this sin would be Menchi. The reason I chose her was not because she eats herself into her downfall, but because her hunger for rare, delicious, high-quality food cannot be satisfied. She is always looking for something more delicious than the last food she discovered or made. And this leads her to almost burn bridges with everyone around her. Her insatiable appetite for perfect tasting food leads her to lash out at people for failing to manage the standards she imposes onto other people.
No good. I didn't like it. Go and try again.
Are you serious?
She ends up disqualifying everyone because despite their lack of cooking skills, they couldn't make food that satisfied her strict palate. The chairman himself had to point out the issues that her gluttony caused. Greed. Intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, power, or food. The greedy want the world to themselves, and they are willing to do anything it takes to get it. Like every deadly sin, greed can get out of control, and no one has uncontrolled greed like Genthru. Some people point to Leorio due to his speeches on getting money, but this is only a facade to hide his true selfless intentions of becoming a doctor and providing free life-saving surgeries.
I want to help all the children out there who are suffering from the same disease you had, and I want to tell the parents that it won't cost them anything, so they don't have to worry about money.
Leorio is willing to risk everything to save others. Genthru is willing to dispose of others, even children, for everything. Genthru commits mass murder and attempts to kill Gon and Killua to win billions of dollars. This is reflected in his Nen ability to create bombs, which he can deactivate and detonate at will, which is perfect for creating hostage situations. His entire life revolves around building as luxurious and comfortable a life as possible, and because of this, all rational thought is completely clouded by money, leading to his downfall against Gon. Pride. Exaggerated self-esteem. This was the hardest to figure out because there's two characters that fit Pride very well, to a point where it becomes their downfall. I decided on going with Meruem. Some people say Gon is the sin of Pride and point to his one-sided battle with Hanzo, where despite being outmatched, he refused to give up, even when there were no consequences in doing so, but I actually think this stems from the polar opposite of Pride. It becomes clear throughout the show that Gon's self-esteem is particularly lower than most characters, and that he thinks he's not worthy of becoming a hunter if he gives up or is handed a victory in a situation where he otherwise would fail on his own. Take the manhunt phase, for example, where he's able to steal Hisoka's badge, then gets poisoned shortly after and loses all his numbers. Hisoka sought out the number on Gon's behalf and returned it to Gon because he felt that Gon was well deserving of becoming a hunter, but Gon couldn't accept it. He didn't think after losing the numbers to somebody else that he deserved to become a hunter, and this self-depreciation would send him into a spiral. Meruem, on the other hand, is the antithesis of Gon in this aspect. Gon is working to be on the levels of people that are higher, but Meruem thinks he's on another level already. When Meruem is first introduced in the series, he views the world through a simple lens. The stronger someone is, the better they are, and as he learns more about the world, the more his young philosophy is challenged. As he explores every field that humankind challenges itself in, particularly through board games, he meets Komugi, a weak, ill Gungi player whose self-esteem is through the floor, and Meruem cannot beat her in Gungi, no matter how many times he tries. But his self-worth is so great that he finds the fields he's lesser in to be weaker and less important than his strength. This is pride that was ingrained from the start by characters with vast power. To him, his pride is the truth, and his journey revolves around him finding humility. And because of this, he was destined to fail in the end. When he battles, strategizes, and competes, he thinks about the weaknesses of his opponent, but never analyzes his own. That is ultimately why he loses his battle against Chairman Netero. Not because he's weaker or dumber, but because Netero is more experienced with people like Meruem and has a deeper understanding of himself. And he was able to use this understanding of himself to his advantage. He used his inadequacies to convince Meruem that the fight was fair. Netero understood that there was more to this world than the things he was best at, but Meruem assumed he would win because he viewed his superior strength as better than Netero's superior experience. This battle is how he learns that his greatest weakness was pride. There's a lot more I can say about Meruem. He's one of the most complex characters in the anime and in anime in general. But I'm not going to do that here. Instead, I'm going to link a video in the description which I find very awesome, very informative, a much deeper dive into Meruem's character than my own, so please go check that out. Lust, an intense longing, usually unbridled sexual desire. It's Hisoka, okay? What do you want me to say? Hisoka is the only character who embraces an insatiable sexual desire. These desires can never be fulfilled, and if they're pursued, they will burn you hollow and leave you cold. Hisoka embodies lust and its consequences. Firstly, I want to clarify that it is indeed sexual what he feels, and it's very clear throughout the anime through his mannerisms, through the way he talks, his goals. All of it is not indicative of someone who enjoys fighting in a tranquil way like Netero. Hisoka does not challenge himself and others for a virtuous life. Rather, he places himself in challenging situations out of a sexual desire he can't control. Hisoka is so engulfed by his fetish that he's willing to murder and traumatize the young and elderly to fulfill it, Not only that, but his lust is so out of control that a literal child is able to take advantage of it from time to time, without even being able to comprehend it. Before I continue, everything I am about to say is a manga spoiler, so here's the timestamp if you want to skip that and go to the next person. What'll happen to him when he faces someone who fully comprehends it? Fortunately for Hisoka, that happened. He meets his match with Chrollo Lucifer in the Heavens Arena and is killed. This is where we see his lust fully consume him more so than ever before in the anime. Rather than using his abilities to their fullest, Hisoka is overwhelmed and distracted by sexual pleasure, and this leads him to take the fight itself less seriously. He sacrifices his full potential to commit a deadly sin, and it becomes his downfall. Despite this, even when given a second chance at life, Hisoka never learns his lesson. Envy. Painful or resentful awareness of an advantage enjoyed by another, joined with a desire to possess the same advantage. Frankly, there are no characters that represent envy well, like in this anime. So, answer might be a little disappointing because it's pretty obscure. The beauty of Hunter x Hunter is that most characters don't fit into a single mold, and share multiple virtues and sins. What makes each character different from one another is their specific combination and potency of each personality trait. Gon and Killua are very similar, but they have a good range of subtle and vast differences that make their interactions essentially mold and join together naturally. Speaking of Killua, one may point to him for envy, but I'm not entirely sure. I see him less as envious and more as self-loathing. He doesn't feel bitter or distant towards Gon, but looks within himself for the answers as to why he isn't approachable, brave, or believed in. I've instead decided to go with someone whose character is literally defined by envy, according to the author himself. That character is Kaluto Zoldyck. Kaluto is the youngest brother in the Zoldyck family, and it can be difficult to remember his name as he only has like 10 to 12 minutes of screen time in the whole show, but those moments are more than enough to cement envy. The story implies that Kaluto envies Alluka, the second youngest Zoldyck brother, because Alluka receives more love and attention from Killua. And these implications are shown through the story's importance of Killua and Alluka's bond, along with Kaluto's expressions and reactions. Let's look at the way Kaluto carries himself. Whenever Kaluto's not interacting with the situation he's in, he stays quiet and expresses nothing. When battling a Chimera Ant, he torches it without any concern. Kaluto is cold and impulsive. These are strong matches to a person who is envious to a point where bitterness and impulsivity consumes their being and leads them to think emotionally rather than critically or morally. Now, at this point in the story, Kaluto's just a mold waiting to be filled, you know, like there hasn't really been much Kaluto yet, so I, for one, am very excited to see how Togashi develops this character. Sloth. Unwillingness to work or make any effort. I'm gonna be honest, I can't really think of anybody. But there are two characters that are rather lazy in different aspects, so we're gonna call this one a tie. The characters I've chosen are Milluki Zoldyck and Majitani. Let's start with Milluki. Milluki is somewhat a more obvious pick for Sloth because of his day-to-day habits. It's clear that if not for the rigorous training enforced on him from childhood, Milluki would be completely hopeless in a battle. Milluki neglects his body and overeats, and he doesn't make up for it with rigorous hunter experience like Buhara. He sits in his basement for most of the anime and doesn't care to socialize much. Getting him to do anything in the anime that isn't his passion is a chore for any character. You probably noticed by now that a lot of what I just said is kind of surface level. You want me to like delve deeper into his character to unleash the sloth within, but when you look at his character, it's not really there. Milluki doesn't take the easy way out of life. Instead, he pursues the most unique passion in the Zoldyck family, computing and weapon technology. He gives himself inhuman tasks and sets out to complete them as authentically and as exceptionally as possible.
My newest bomb is a real winner, Grandpa! It's tiny enough that I can attach it to a female mosquito, and I rigged it to explode whenever it sucks on the target's blood!
As they say, however, working your dream job is kind of like not working at all. It's clear that Milluki's habits are going to leave him rather alone and shallow. His sloth approach to everything else in life is definitely making him bitter. As for Majitani, at first glance, you wouldn't think he's sloth-like. He clearly maintains a strong physique and healthier lifestyle than Miluki, but his flaws come from within. Let's look at the way Majitani approaches life. What is his passion? What are his goals? We don't know, because we never see him pursue anything meaningful. While Miluki is working on bombs attached to mosquitoes, Majitani attempts to make money without getting a real job or doing anything meaningful. Rather than taking care of his appearance, he gets plastic surgery and it ends up getting botched. Rather than working on combat skills, he gets gang tattoos and metal implants to intimidate his opponents into surrendering. And when I say implants, I mean implant, because he couldn't even get bothered to get them on both hands. And he isn't bothered to face fears, because this would require effort and patience. Now, all these things require effort, but the harsh reality is that most things in life require effort, and oftentimes the things that are the easy path is kind of the harder path on the long run when you're trying to just coast through life. And nobody embodies that more than Majitani. The easy route consumes his being to the point where his dirty schemes and attempted fraud puts him in prison for the rest of his life. Plastic surgery ruins his face permanently, and he attempts to intimidate the wrong person rather than being prepared to fight him with dedicated training, resulting in one of the most humiliating losses in the anime. And all that is because the only thing he ever worked on was looking terrifying to hide the minimal effort from within. Before I finish this video, I want to go over some honorable mentions, or I guess dishonorable, depending on your point of view. Chrollo and the Phantom Troop in general are great picks for Greed, and they'd probably be even more interesting to talk about because Chrollo has infinitely more depth to his character than Genthru, but I opted out of picking him because Greed doesn't consume the Phantom Troop nearly as much as it does Genthru, and Genthru is just as evil, if not more so, when it comes to cutting corners for a life of luxury. But Chrollo and friends are far more rational in tactics, and Chrollo is never really seen to suffer many consequences for his evil doings as of yet. Next, Gon was really close as a contender for Wrath, to the point where it could go either way. However, I didn't pick Gon because his story wasn't entirely about Wrath, and he hadn't had to suffer many consequences for his undoing, nor has he had to overcome Wrath in the long run. Kurapika's full journey through Wrath is who he is at the core of his character, explicitly more so than anyone else, and his journey spans to the end from the very beginning. Finally, there are a lot of prideful characters in the anime, and all of them die. The Shadow Beasts spend their whole battle gloating about how dangerous they are, just to get massacred by a bigger fish. Many of the Chimera Ants, like Ramot, Leol, and especially Chitu, who was originally going to be my pick for Pride, were self-centered and overconfident in their abilities. But it didn't come too much from their sense of self-worth, at least not nearly as much as it did from thinking that humans were just a far weaker species. Whew, all right, that was a lot of speaking. This is a 40-minute recording. Thank you guys for watching. This was a passion project. I had a lot of fun making this, despite my burnout. I actually can't think of a video that I worked on as hard for, if I'm gonna be honest. The house pest infestation was a pretty strenuous one. Link in the description, honestly, because you should check it out. I made that a while ago. I had a lot of fun. I would like to make more videos like this. I have a lot of ideas that don't have to do with Hunter x Hunter and that do have to do with Hunter x Hunter. Anyway, I'm checking out. Have a blessed day. Hug your moms for me. Hug your cats for me. Take care.